Hi, welcome to this episode of Author Ecke. I'm Travis Davis, your host. Tell us your story. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Author Ecke. For y'all that don't know, Ecke is corner in German, so it's Author Corner. And today we have Doug, who is a world traveler, and I'm very interested in learning more about him and his endeavors. So, Doug, please introduce yourself and take it away.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I started traveling actually when I was 20 years old, and I just kind of never looked back. I mean, I went around the States a lot with my parents,
Mhm.
but I did a trip to Costa Rica, which was my first trip out of North America. And then immediately afterwards, just hitched it to Italy for a year and traveled around, did some school, came back to finish college and was like, oh, I'm just going to go out again. I just have that travel bug.
That's
And it
awesome.
was, right, it was 2008 as well. So my prospects for finding a job after college wasn't
Mhm.
really great. So I was like, this
Right.
is perfect timing. So
I can
I
write
started,
about
yeah,
it.
exactly. And I started heading east. I kept a travel blog just so my parents could keep up with it. It wasn't something I thought about monetizing. I just was like,
Mhm.
this is the best way and only way at the time that I could really keep people abreast of what I'm doing.
Right.
And then I came back, worked for a little bit, decided this is not fun, went to South America for 6 months, then
Well,
got a
that was fun.
yeah, that was definitely a lot more fun than trying to
I went
work
for a
all
week and
day.
loved it.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of just hit Colombia and just headed southwest, try and make my way down to Argentina, and then made my way back up to Mexico. So, well, I flew to Mexico. I'm not gonna make it sound
Right.
like I did a boat
Hiked.
or drove or anything.
Hiked.
Yeah. So flew to Mexico, did some time
Uh,
there. Then I got into grad school writing. So I did an MFA, and that's really when I solidified becoming a writer, where for so long I kind of fought it thinking there's no future there, but really it was the only thing I wanted to do. Only thing I had skills in doing was like that
yep.
or talking. So then I could do both. Why
You can do
not?
both. You can talk
Yeah.
into Word now and write at the same time. It's amazing.
Right? Exactly. And I do that sometimes, especially dictating notes when
Yep.
I'm walking around my block or something with my
Yeah.
dog. It's such a godsend.
Yeah.
So I did grad school. Then I went to Africa for 6 months. And it was kind of around that time, right before I left for Africa, I actually found a job on Craigslist. It was, hey, have you ever been to these areas of the world? Write like a paragraph or a page about your experience. And so I just responded to that using that travel blog that I never used for anything else. And they're like, "Oh, great, you're hired. Let's work with this." So I freelanced with this company, this travel company, for years. So I was just traveling, writing for them. I was able to make it a career for myself,
Mhm.
but I was always still writing novels. In 2014, I wrote what was it? It was between 2014 and 2015. I wrote 7 novels for a book packaging company. So
Holy
they came
smokes.
up with the ideas, right? Like the major idea they came
Uh-huh.
up with. And then I came up with the arc for every book. I came up with the characters for every book. So for 6 of those books, it's one series called Deep Freeze. And the seventh book was a part of a separate series called Freshman. And I just like hammered it out. It was a very great learning experience for writing for different markets, for how to write for a deadline,
Mhm.
also understanding how much you might miss when only writing for a deadline,
Yes.
right? But I've ever since I still been working on my thesis from my grad program,
Uh-huh.
which is Life Between Seconds, which is the book coming out in November 15th. So it's my newest
Well,
book,
great.
set for release. Very excited, but I've been working on that since 2013. So it's been
So
9 years.
no, because no deadline.
Right, exactly, right? I mean, that thing was a beast just in terms of, I mean, that taught me, the other books taught me how to write for a deadline and write
Mhm.
towards a certain audience, where Life Between Seconds taught me how to write for the publishing industry, right? How to
Right.
query things, how to take my time, how to wait for a response, how to keep working while I'm waiting, and like the
Yep.
things I need to do to make sure I'm not just twiddling my thumbs for three
Yes.
months waiting
So
for
do
a response.
you do a lot of research? What I found is I do a lot of lookup of words to make sure that I'm doing it right. And then I also do a lot of research to make sure that what I want to put in there even though it's fiction, is somewhat factual or based on something of fact. So do you do a lot of research and how do you
100%.
do that?
100%. So Life Between Seconds, part of it takes place during the Argentine Dirty War. So it's 1970s, 1980s,
Mhm.
when the junta really was disappearing a lot of students and people
I
who
remember
were
that.
dissenting against the government. And so I really only learned about it when I was in Argentina and saw the Madres de Plaza de Mayo, the mothers of children who were disappeared. And so every Thursday
Mhm.
for decades, they would march silently, holding up signs, holding up pictures of their children, trying to continuously call the government to account. Where are my kids? Where's my family? Where is my husband? And it moved me so much that I took a deep dive into learning more about what
Mhm.
happened, what the perspectives are, all these things, so I could instill fact into my fiction.
Right. Yes. It makes it good fiction. I was at a book signing this weekend, and this is twice this has happened. Tell me about your book, right? So I started telling about the book, and by the end, the lady was like, "Is that real?" I'm
Yeah,
like, "No, but it's good fiction."
exactly right. Well, the best fiction, like the best lies, are based
Yeah.
on.
Yes. Yes. Fiction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. So you write for travel, but you also write your own novels,
Yep.
and then you're also writing a thesis. Your hands have got to have carpal tunnel, or so you
Not
got to
yet.
be taking a lot of Advil.
Not yet, but I do think that they just always look like this, no matter what. But
That's where you shake hands. Hello.
yeah, exactly. I
Like,
shake
why do they
hands
shake hands
like
like
a
that?
woman in Regency England. I'm just putting my hand out like this.
That's crazy. So your book's going to be out in November.
Yep.
Are you self-published or did you publisher? If you're self-published, what have you found the experience, or even through a publisher?
Yeah, so I'm actually going through an indie publisher.
Okay.
My journey was I have nothing against self-publishing. It's just not the journey I wanted to take at this time for this book.
Mhm.
So I was querying agents for years, and a couple times I had a few bites and I was really excited, they weren't but they didn't pan out the way I wanted them to. One wanted me to remove like I love magical realism in all my work,
Mhm.
and one wanted me to remove that from this. It's like, no, that's not I'm not ready for that. That's really important to
Right.
me. Another one just didn't have the same uh perception of what kind of the book could or should be. So I just kept going at it until finally I thought, well, I'm spending all this time trying to sell my book to one person who's going to try and sell it to a publisher. So why don't I just try to sell it to the publisher on my own? I know all the steps I have to take anyway.
Exactly.
And I found a few indie presses and one that sounded really good. And I love indie presses for a lot of reasons, but one, I was able to keep a lot of that artistic integrity, a lot of the things that I
Mhm.
wanted to. I have a very particular voice. I love playing with punctuation and just like
Right.
you looking up words, but using words
Yeah.
very specifically,
Right.
even if it might not be the best word, but I like the way it sounds better, I'll use it.
I do the same thing. Like
Yeah.
I hear a word, I'm going, I'm gonna have to write that down. I like that word
Yeah.
because you don't hear it often. I need to put it in the book somehow.
Exactly.
Right,
Right.
right. Instead, you go, okay, now
Totally
I just
crush
want to
on
make
that
sure.
word.
I
Yeah.
know. Well,
I will take that word out on a date and I will
yep.
just play with it for a while and I'll do that. So I was able to keep that in there. And I mean, perfect example. There's one chapter in Life Between Seconds it's about 3 pages, give or take, but it's only
Mhm.
2 sentences long. So it's just all run on sentences, but I love it. It's like really impactful. And it's supposed to
Right.
be. I mean, you're supposed to be reading it and just sucked in because you
Yeah.
can't take a breath. Where I've shown it to editors that work in larger publication areas, and they're kind of like, oh, they tear it apart, and this needs to be here, this needs to be here. It's like, no, it's completely removed from context and removed from what I want it to do in that space. Where
Yeah.
working with the indie press gave me the power to say, yes, this is exactly what I want. They didn't even say boo about it. I
Well,
went
that's your artistic expression,
right.
right?
Oh, it's
That's how you
important.
want it.
It's
Yeah.
these little things
Yeah.
as an author, like whatever you're writing, whether, I've had friends that wrote romance or friends who wrote military, and there are just
Mhm.
little things that everybody kind of connects with that they really want to keep.
Yeah.
And that was mine. A 3 page, 2 sentence chapter was mine.
I think that's the way I talk. So,
Yeah, exactly. Right.
but That's awesome. So when do you find time? I mean, you say you have a wife, you have a dog. When do
I
you
also
find
have a
time to
daughter and a
write?
cat. So
Oh my God.
yeah. So
So you're
finding time,
busy.
finding time is key. I actually, when things shut down in Los Angeles and I'm a travel writer by day, and
Yeah.
for
Without
2.5
travel.
years, there was no travel. There was nothing I could do.
Yeah.
So I'm piecemealing together jobs to keep my, to pay rent, to pay
Right. Exactly.
utilities, whatever it is. And at the end of the day, I was just so exhausted. Put my daughter to bed. She was an infant at the time. Now she's
Hmm.
3, so it's even harder. And so I was exhausted, and my wife and I want to spend time together. And it's like, well,
Of course.
I don't have the energy to sit and write for an hour or two, and finish a book. But what I found was 10 minutes. I only needed 10 minutes a night. And so for 6 nights a week, 10 minutes, I would sit at my computer and just gamify. How many words can I do? Can I get a complete chapter done? Can I
Interesting.
piece all these chapters together to see what works best? And I was able to complete revisions that way for Life
Hmm.
Between Seconds. And I was also
Yeah.
able to complete another novel, like finish it in full and sell it just by doing
Wow.
10 minutes, 6 nights a week. And that's works for
Impressive.
me. And now I kind of have trouble if I do more than like 20 minutes. I'm like, oh, I
Hmm.
can't concentrate. I can't focus
Yeah.
for this long of time.
That's like me in the afternoon. I have to do it in the morning
Yeah,
unless I really want to, finish it up or finish a thought. I have to do that. But what you've done, like the gamification, right? Everything gamified,
right.
business,
Exactly.
everything, right? So you've just internally gamified it, and you want to win every time.
Oh yeah. And
Yeah,
luckily I do. So
yeah.
that's it's a game I can win.
Well, it's done. So evidently you won. So have you
Yeah.
started? Have you started like think of another one? Or no, marketing is tough. I would
Marketing.
have to say marketing. I mean, I heard yesterday. I went to a local library writing group. There's like over 1 million books a year put on Amazon or
Oh wow.
some number like that. I don't know. I'm not for sure. But that's a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
though marketing it is tough. Branding yourself is really what you've got to be able to do and want to do.
Yeah, that is I'm finding to be the most difficult part, even with so many books under my belt. With the previous books that I've done, it was in such a way that I thought, oh, I don't have to market these.
Right.
I will be very upfront now. I have made every single mistake you can as a writer, and I just learned
Oh,
from
me
it.
too.
Yeah, right. There you go. I've made it. I've done it. Like sending the same cut and paste query letter to agents and making it obvious. Done that. Doing the
Right.
same thing for grad schools. Done it. Not marketing my books, thinking that the marketing department at the publishing house is going to take care of it. Done it. Failed miserably.
Exactly.
Like
Yes. Yes.
either and you learn. And so what I'm learning now is exactly what you said, kind of the beast of the marketing department. And
Mhm.
I work technically as a travel writer. I work in the marketing department of the travel company I work for. And I still,
Sweet.
but it is right. So I know certain things, but still in like book
Mm,
marketing is so different. And I'm
yes.
also finding it to be super expensive. Everybody just comes out of the woodwork saying, oh, pay me this
Oh
for
my.
this, or
Oh,
you need to pay for this. And I'm just, what is
I've
happening?
had more people reach out to me that are experts in everything book related. I'm like, there can't be this many.
Yeah, like I didn't even
So,
know there were that many
so I'm not
departments.
gonna. I personally love do it. Love some people pay. I don't. I mean, I try to. And a lot of authors are introverted, right?
Yeah.
Me, I am extroverted. I will talk to anybody all the time.
Yeah.
So I think that helps. But you're right. The marketing is tough. So how do you market? Where are you going to market? Where are you going to put your dollars? How many dollars are you going to put towards it? When do you know it's successful? When do you not know it's successful? When do you punt? Right?
Yeah.
You can go through a rabbit hole and end up with a bunch of books at your house that kindling basically.
Yeah. Right. That's, I mean, in that
Which
case,
I'm sending to
risk.
Europe because they made bad decisions on their energy. So I'm actually taking a bunch of books with me to Germany for Christmas, and I think I'm just going to burn them. So,
Oh, there you
but
go.
not in
Well,
a good way, not a bad way,
yeah,
not a
right.
bad
There
way,
you go.
not a
Sell
bad way.
them, you sell them as kindling, and
Yes,
saying, yeah. Right.
But read them first, and then throw them in the fire and warm up.
Exactly. Read them, leave me a review, then burn.
And burn them.
Yeah,
Heat them
you
up.
should just retitle the book "Burn After Reading"
Yeah, I'm
and make
sure.
it
Yeah,
a
they'll put me
literal.
on a plane right out of there. Well, no, so I like how you do the 10-minute thing. I think because all writers struggle, I think, with like writing block or when to write, how to write. So I like to write in the morning because I'm more creative. I think I like just to hammer some stuff out, and then if I have writer block, what I'll do is I will then do edits
Oh,
because
nice.
I don't because when you edit, oh, I need to put something here. This
Yeah.
would be cool. So how do you edit? Do you do like all at one time or piecemeal, or how does that iterative process go?
Yeah. I edit all at one time, but I have to print everything out. I cannot edit
I'm the
on.
same way.
Are you? I was
Yes,
gonna
I got
ask
a bunch
you
of
how you
paper.
edit. Yeah.
I do too.
Look, I have, if I can pull it out, I have so much stuff in my desk, but like I have this. This is like my latest, just this box of
Oh yeah.
paper. So, and that's one book that I finished that I need to edit again. I have like, I usually do probably between 5 and 10 rounds of edits
Mm-hmm.
because the first one, I don't write linearly, I write modularly. So I'll just be like, this chapter sounds interesting. So I'll just write that chapter. And then the next one,
Okay.
that sounds interesting, I'll write that chapter. And then when I feel like I have enough chapters put together, then
Yep.
I print it out, piece it together like a puzzle. This sounds like it goes here. This sounds like it goes here. And then I look through, see what I'm missing, and be like, okay, now I have to fill in these gaps.
Mm-hmm.
Then when it comes to revision, after the whole thing really is finished, there's a beginning, middle, and
Right.
end. Then
Yep.
I'll go through and do the same thing. Setting, character, plot. Is it all fitting together? Is it threading? Oh, I mentioned this on page 150, but I actually need to put that on page 3.
Or you
So
need to follow up.
150.
You need to
Yeah,
follow that, finish that, whatever the action that person or
exactly.
character does. Well, that's interesting. I do the same thing. I print it out, and I had so much paper that I mean, I'm lucky they picked up my trash. What is this guy?
You should take that to Germany with you.
Oh
That
my!
would be
Well, you
helpful.
only have 55 pounds. You only have
Oh,
55 pounds per luggage, so.
well, yeah, good point.
So I mean, that's interesting. Because do you write an outline or do you pants it?
I pants it.
Yeah,
I generally know where I'm going, generally,
right.
right? But then if a ending presents itself, I'll just write the ending and then I'll figure out, okay, now how do I get from A to Z here? But sometimes I might do an outline, like with those
Mhm.
7 books that I originally
Yes.
did. I had to do an outline. One, they required it, but 2, I had to do so much so fast that I needed to
Mhm.
know where I was starting and where I was going.
Right.
But generally, I don't really feel an outline helps me because I stray from it so
Yes.
quickly.
Yep.
So,
I'm the same. And I'll write I'll write the end first,
oh yeah.
and then but I probably won't use it. And so because then I want to do the first, the first part of the book, the introduction or the setting the scene, and then as the book progresses, I may use portions of the end that I did, or I may rewrite the whole thing.
Yeah.
But the book would work either way. But how do I want to end it? Like, do I want to kill off a character? To me, that's like, man, that's tough. You know,
Oh, the hardest part.
I birthed these characters. I now have to kill one of them. So
Yeah.
that's tough.
Dude,
Yeah.
I had to do that. I had to do that with Life Between Seconds. There was a character, I loved her, loved
Right.
her. But after 1/3 of the novel, she disappeared. Like I didn't kill her off. I just did nothing with her. She didn't show up. So I was like,
Right.
well, then there's no point for her and I have to get rid of her. But after losing her for maybe 2 or 3 drafts, I realized, oh, she doesn't need to be throughout the 1/3. She just needs to be in this one spot. So I get to keep her in a small section,
Mhm.
which made me feel better. But still, you have to do it. Otherwise the book's
Yeah.
not going to work or not going to be as good.
Exactly. Exactly. No, I'm like that too. I'm like, oh, okay. Let's think of the most hideous way that I can knock this person off to give a little bit of shock
Yeah,
value.
there you go. No, see, I love what you said though, that you could even use some of your ending sometimes, because I feel like a lot of writers are afraid that they're either going to have to scrap something completely or use
Mhm.
completely, and they don't realize that, oh, well, I can take bits and pieces of this
Oh
and
yeah.
it works here. Where I do that all the time, and I love that.
Yeah, I do. Like I like to walk in the morning, listen to music, and I'll think of something. I'll get back, and I have a section at the end of the book in the Word document. It's called stuff, and I'll just jot something down, like a phrase or a sentence or a scene, a real, a quick synopsis of a scene. And then as I start writing again, I was, oh, I can use, let me go back here. Oh, I could use that. Let me put it in there.
Nice.
So it is a poor man's outline of some sort, or it's a free flow of thought.
I like that better than a poor man's outline.
Yeah. But yeah, so I do like to do that, and I use that, and then when I'm writing, like I'm writing my second book now, I just, wow, now I can spin this character off, and they can do something, and it becomes a different type of thing.
Yeah. Is your second book related to your first book, or is
The
it?
same team,
Yeah.
but different scenario. That it's actually two plots that come into one at the end.
Nice.
Well, let's see.
No, I mean, I'm saying I'm already intrigued, but then the trick is to make sure it all
and
coalesces.
I already I can coalesce them at the end. I've got
Yeah.
that figured out. So, what do you do in your spare time other than travel? So, I like to travel myself. I've been, oh shoot, all around Europe, Egypt.
I just came back
South.
from Egypt, actually.
No, that is overwhelming. I mean,
Right?
it's absolutely, when you go and you go, oh, you go on a vacation, you go, I'm gonna relax and everything. You get there, and you go, oh my God, this is just, the history is, and how old it is, right? Like I can go to anywhere in the United States and look at a building. It's probably less than 200 years old.
Yeah.
Now you go to Egypt and you're seeing things that are 4,500 years old. Now you can go to California and I think look at General Samuel, right? That big tree that's 4,500 years old. And if that tree could talk, he could tell you everything that's happened in the world since he was a seed, and every significant thing in the world, civilization based, he can talk about. Now that would be interesting for a tree to talk about history.
You might have your next book.
Oh man, I can find somebody who likes trees.
Yeah. Well, there's a book I read. What is it called? I think it's called maybe not a brief history of trees, The Secret Life of Trees, something like that. I just read it recently, but there is a tree that has its own perspective and kind of explains these really interesting traditions from Cyprus. And so it was this whole, it was
Oh,
all
that's cool.
Cyprus during the Troubles. So it was really
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah,
that's
it was a beautiful book, but it was, I mean, similar just in that idea of a tree
huh.
telling you
So
the.
I'm about to put that in this bottom section of my current book to see
Yeah.
how to
There you
work it
go.
in.
No, I love the thing about Egypt that fascinated me. I mean, the history itself,
Yeah.
right? But the perspective that was brought when they found a Roman villa, the ruins of a Roman villa, right in front of one of the temples,
Oh
and
wow.
when the ruin of the Roman, or when the Roman villa was built, the temple, the Egyptian temple, was already 1,500 years old. So it
Oh
was a
yeah.
ruin. It was a ruin. It was a ruin to the Roman.
So yeah, again, like it's just the enormity
Yeah.
of it is amazing.
Right.
But the people are great. They're
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So when I found out, I was in the army at the time. When I found out they like to barter, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
because money to the so, and I found out they liked ballpoint pens. It's good, something good to barter with. So I had like 200 of the U.S. government skill craft pens, and what I would do, I just give them out. So I'm guaranteeing someone will probably still use somebody writing on an old government skill craft pen their name or something, on a
Oh
receipt
man.
or whatever. But
I
that's what
wish
I
I'd
use.
known that before, and I would have been like looking out for it.
Yeah, it was crazy. I don't know how my wife went before I did, and she goes, "Yeah, they like ballpoint pens and stuff." Like, I get some of those. They're all
Awesome.
over the place. That's great, great. So your book's what's the title? When's it coming out? And where can we potentially get it?
Yeah, Life Between Seconds comes out November 15th. It's all over the internet, which is nice. So you can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target. You could even find it on Target. The publishing house is Histria Press. So HISTRIA.com.
Mm-hmm.
Small indie press.
Yeah.
So it's great. Honestly, I think I ran around my house screaming so loud that my wife thought I was having a heart attack and I saw that it was available like on Target. It's like, whoa, you
Yeah,
can buy it on Target.
that is very cool.
Right?
Well, when I told my wife I was writing a book in friends, they told me to stop drinking. So
Yeah, that would have come second afterwards. After
yeah,
the dying. Oh.
Yeah, but then you tell somebody you're writing a book, and if you tell somebody, then you got to finish it up, or they think you're just BSing. So
Yeah.
I had to,
Yeah.
and
Well, the accountability is real, right? I mean,
yes, yes,
that's why when I told people I had one in one of the books, one of the 7 books, I wrote the dedication to my friends because I was like, see, I told you I was writing a book, basically is what I was saying.
So, what advice would you give an author or somebody just attempting to start their novel? What kind of advice would you give them to, you know, kind of get them through the hurdles and the pitfalls and some things that you've learned over the years?
Yeah, it's been when you say it like that, I was like, oh man, I do have to remember it has been years now.
Yeah, I'm a
I
good
would,
person for perspective.
yeah. Uh, Honestly, I would say make it manageable. I think that especially coming in as a new writer, people have these expectations like, oh, if I write 10,000 words a day or 5,000 words a day every day for X amount of days, I'll have a novel ready.
Right.
But it's not manageable and it's not something sustainable where like the 10 minutes worked for me. It might not work for everybody. Maybe somebody has an hour. But what I do know is when I first started writing and I could do 4 to 5 hours at a time, that was great, but it wasn't sustainable in my current shape. I evolved from that because of current circumstances. And
Sure.
I found what worked for me. And so what people have to do is they have to find what works for them, what keeps them accountable, what gets their butt in the chair, and what keeps them focused rather than, oh, I'll go on Facebook for 10 minutes or let me track my playlist. Like I only have 3 songs that I listen to. I only listen to them if I need to. I have one on repeat the entire time I'm writing, so I'm not sitting there shuffling
So
things.
you can write and listen to music or something, right?
It's not music with words, but usually it's the tone that I need. So like if I'm jumping in and I have 10 minutes and I got to get a certain feeling, but I don't feel that way. I have 3 different, like one's a happy song, one's a sad song, one's a fast-paced song. And so I'll
Right.
put it on repeat, one of the 3, and I'll just go. And that just gets me in that feeling that I need to be for whatever scene I'm working on. But
Interesting.
yeah, it's not words. It's classical music or
Right.
one of those intense soundtracks from a movie or something.
Interesting. Because I can listen to music and write.
Yeah.
I can watch TV and write.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Well, I've done it, but I wouldn't say it was good. I wouldn't say I did a good
No,
job.
I go back and edit for.
Yeah, there you go.
Or
But,
I'll write something. My because my brain's working so fast I can't type that fast. So I go back and read it. I'm like, I don't even know what I said. But
yeah, I have those moments too. Yeah. Well, it was so apparently Hemingway didn't say this, but people say you said it, so I say it anyway. But it was write drunk, edit sober.
and he only did 500 words a day,
Yeah, but
supposedly.
he did it at like what 4:30 or 5 o'clock in
Yeah,
the morning. So the truth is, he
yeah.
was either he would not drink that early in the morning, so he wasn't drunk when he wrote. But
Right.
if he was probably still drunk from the night before.
Yeah. So he wrote and then later he edited before he went back out.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
what about writer's block? What do you do for writer's block?
I
You have
walk.
it.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but my 2 best things for writer's block is I take a walk. I love walking anyway. And then I was living in San Francisco for a few years and then traveling so often that just walking is great. You explore new places, you
Yes.
find new things. It gives you a chance to just be outside of that frenetic of like, I need to check my email or check this or someone's screaming for me. So I love walking. Or I'll also pick one paragraph from some book that I love that and I'll just rewrite that paragraph over and over again until I kind of find my own words.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Huh.
So that generally works for
Very
me, but I only
cool.
give myself a few minutes. Like I won't do that for a half hour. I'll do it for like, all right, I have, especially if I'm only doing 10 minutes. It's like I have 2 minutes to copy this down as much as possible. But it works for me.
So do you have a favorite author?
I don't have a favorite author anymore. I have a few authors that I love, but like when it comes to copying down that paragraph, I always do the first paragraph of A Farewell to Arms. Always. I don't know why, but about 10 years ago, it just stuck with me. I really like the rhythm of the sentences there, and it's familiar, and uh the imagery is so present and atmospheric, even though it's so sparse. So it helps me kind of get into things. But I wouldn't say like Hemingway is my favorite author or
Right.
anything. Yeah. How about you?
Me. No.
Oh,
I
that's such a
thought
good
you were
answer.
going to say Travis. So, but
Yeah,
that's fine.
I should have. But
No,
your answer was better.
I like reading Clive Cussler,
Mm.
um, Tom Clancy, Dan Brown.
Yeah.
So I used to tech edit Microsoft Series technical books for Q Publishing back in the
Oh,
day,
wow. That sounds
and
really intense.
it was fun. I mean, sometimes I'd get a Word document uh, that was almost done. Sometimes it would be just raw, so I have to go in there and look at the diagram and everything. And then they reached out to me one time. I said, "Hey, Travis, do you want to help write a book on the Windows 2000 Security Handbook?" Is what it's called. And I go, "Yeah." I go, "What do you want me to write about?" And she goes, "Kerberos." I go, "Oh, heck yeah, I'll do that." And I got off the phone. I was like, "What the hell's Kerberos?" So I had to do all the research for the darn chapters, and so it helped me, to figure out what it was. That's the kind of work I did at the time. But it's interesting. And then I didn't do anything for years, and then all of a sudden, 1st of March, I had an idea, and I decided to write it, and that's what happened. But yeah, so I like a lot, and I like writing. I like reading technical books,
Yeah.
as a matter of fact, too. So it's
I
kind
would
of
hope
all over the
so,
place.
given your years editing tech books. Like that's important.
Yeah, just the technical part, not the written part, but the tech, because it was interesting, because it makes you ensure that when you do talk about things that it's correct.
Yeah.
And I still have some of the books too, with my name in there and everything. So it
That's
was pretty
awesome.
interesting.
Well, I'm sure it also gave you a really good foundation to, I mean, you probably already know this going into that, but like the foundation of how things work, how things are connecting, making
Yes.
sure that things are building and appropriately fitted. Where I don't have
Yeah.
that. Like I don't, my details are not, even though, I put it on my resume, great attention to detail.
Yeah.
No, not me.
Oh, I'm terrible about that.
Yeah.
So when I wrote the book, first thing I did, I started looking through all the contracts, because I wanted to reach back out to the lady I was working with at Q Publishing, because
Mm.
I didn't know anything about publishing a book. I
Yeah.
look her up on LinkedIn or whatever. I think I got rid of them all. And I got to start from the beginning of figuring out how am I going to get this book out? Because like you, I just don't think I have uh, the wherewithal to do a self published book.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. I got a publisher. It's just easier for me to do that, because now I can concentrate on other stuff. But the
You're
marketing
writing
is
the book,
key.
right?
Yeah, the marketing is key. I tell everybody that if you look at a pie, you divide the pie in three. 1/3 is a book. The other 2/3, that's the marketing.
Yeah.
That is getting the book out there. You see all these events you can go to. Go to the right event. Just don't go to an event and be sitting there, because you might get discouraged, because that is not the demographics that you're going after in your book.
Yeah. Like you don't want to go to the romance writers retreat when you're writing suspense.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't. You want to go to that. So, uh, effective use of time and resources and money is key, because if you have something else you want to write about, don't get discouraged based on the first one.
100%. I mean, that's great advice, especially if I was discouraged about the turnaround in the market and everything from my first 7 books. I mean, granted, they were kind of packaged together, but
Right.
still, I would not have continued writing. But
Right.
even since then, I'm publishing one. I have another one published that will be published either late next year, early
Oh, good.
2024. And then I have another book in progress, or like 2 other books in progress. So I mean, the writing just continues. You just kind of find that
Yeah.
we're speaking and roll with it.
You get in a rhythm, or
Yeah.
a frame of mind, or I'm not sure what you call it, but
Yeah, but
it
I mean,
just
just
get in
like
your way.
you had an idea for a story, and it just
Yeah.
like you hadn't written a story before, but then all of a sudden, boom, you had the idea.
Now I tell a lot of
You
them.
did it.
I tell a
Yeah,
lot
well,
of
there you
stories.
go. But I know the feeling, right? I mean, it was like someone's like, "You should write a book." Well, I did. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm gonna get a trench coat and carry him in there and say, book. Anybody want a book? Hardcover, soft cover. Who wants a book? Well, Doug, it's been great. So tell us again the title and where we can get it, and where people can reach out to you to learn more about you, all your social media sites. So let's hear this.
Yeah. So again, Life Between Seconds, and it's available wherever books are sold: Amazon, Barnes and Noble,
Sweet.
Target. Again, Target. All right, and It comes out November 15th. I am most active on LinkedIn and Instagram at Douglas Weissman. So you can find me there. If you type in Douglas Weissman travel writer on LinkedIn, easily find me.
And I will tell you that how we connected is through LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And if you've been to somewhere kind of cool from a traveling perspective, reach out to Doug. Tell him your experience. I mean,
100%.
because you never know, he might not have been there.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm only at 48 countries, trying to get 50 before I'm 40, and I still
holy
have a lot more
smokes.
countries I want to go to. So
There's like 270 countries in the world, something like that.
yeah, I mean, I'm not interested in going to all of them, but I'm interested in going to a lot of them.
Yeah, there's a couple I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
I'm
no
not going
interest
to
in
North
going to
Korea.
Antarctica.
I'm
I've
not
been
going to North Korea.
well, yeah, you probably shouldn't, given your experience. I probably, given my experience, would wander over the border on accident because that's just what happens to me sometimes.
I've seen that happen in East Germany, West Germany, so that's another story. Uh, that's great, Doug. I want to thank you for taking the time today to be part of Author Ecke. And again, I'm excited about the book. I love reading about your little travel stories too on LinkedIn when you start
I
talking about stuff.
appreciate that.
It
This has
helps.
been
I think it
wonderful.
helps people think.
Well, that's the hope, right? I'm trying to spark
Yeah,
that idea and give
yeah,
people kind of the how, not just the what.
exactly, exactly. Well, again, thank you very much, and the most success. And again, you get that book in Target.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you so much.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Author Ecke. There'll be another episode next week. Please stop by and start your own story. We can't wait to hear it.